Hello class, and welcome to this StarTropics walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. I'm your instructor, Professor Brigands, and this is one of my favorite titles for the NES. A game which doesn't get enough love, a game which didn't get enough sequels if you ask me. I think it's very underrated, and the one sequel it did get actually, I know there's probably some people out there with hard opinions, a lot of love for that game, did not live up to this game, to say the least. I think that's fair. But this is an all-time NES, not quite hidden gem, because a lot of people know about it, but still a classic. In terms of difficulty, I'm going to give StarTropics a 6 out of 10, which on the frustration scale, this equates to biting down and then throwing your controller across the room. Maybe because you don't know what that code is, you're wondering what the heck is the manual or the game trying to tell me. Check for some letter, dip it in water, what are they talking about? Maybe you jumped at the wrong spot and you fell into the water, and of course Mike can't swim. But fear not, we have everything you need to know in the StarTropics walkthrough. We're going to cover where to get every single heart in this game, everything you need to do to beat this game in the most efficient way possible, the shortest time, while experiencing everything at the same time, the full StarTropics experience. Fluff has a number of fun and interesting facts about this game. Gary's got all your boss beaters. Blaze has a number of item guides for you to break down every single item to be had here in StarTropics. So, very busy class. I've been looking forward to this one personally for a very long time. So let's run the intro and get into this StarTropics walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. Let's not waste any time as we start a new game here. Register our name. Always the eternal question at the start when they let us input our name. How many characters can I fit? Can I get the full Professor? Professo. All right, well, we'll go with our standard fallback when they only give us 8 letters. Professor with the 1 S. We usually make it work. Just give us that one last character, you know? No love for the Sebastians of the 90s. And that's the only more than 8-letter name I can come up with off the top of my head. So, Prelude, one day in summer, you land at Sea Island where Dr. Jones has his laboratory. So we'll hold off on the controls for just a second. We are now in Chapter 1 here. This part is pretty straightforward. Just walk around with the D-pad and hit A to interact with people, but we'll give you the proper controls once we actually get into the fighting portion of the game, which most of this game takes place in. Kind of the dungeons. Got a pig dancing around. I like everybody just doing that constant dancing around like they all need to use the restroom, but there's not really one in Cola. Are we in Cola? Anyway, Dr. J, our uncle. Something about a strange puzzle. We're from Miracola. I love the tagline for this game. I think it's a test of island courage, it said on the box, actually. We actually need to talk to everybody before we can advance things, so a lot of times that is the case. You can't... Miss Coral 1990, do you think I'm pretty? There you go. That's this here, too. It's not like she's... Nah, you wouldn't know the first thing about a fastball. I could try to teach you. Probably just be a waste of my time. I've decided that our Mike is he just thinks he's better than everybody else, basically. So make sure we talk to everybody. This little guy here told me about you. I feel like we're friends. Yeah, well, I wish I could say the same thing. All right, let's talk to this guy. He's the chief of Cola. I love the way he breaks this to us. Try not to be too upset, but yeah, your uncle's been abducted. Wouldn't want the Islanders to panic. And apparently, I don't know, a 15-year-old high school student is the best hope for rescuing his uncle. But we got the yo-yo, our first weapon of the game. Being an ace pitcher, maybe we can put it to use. Blaze, what can you tell us about the yo-yo? Alright, the yo-yo, the first weapon we get in StarTropics, is also the weakest weapon in the game, but suppose it's better than nothing. Mike, put that arm to work. Not the most confidence building of descriptions. It's better than nothing. That's what we have to defend ourselves with. But there you go. Once you've talked to everybody, he'll say, oh, okay. He'll just recognize you after you've talked to everybody in the village. I guess there's some familiarity there, but see, we'll see this shaman, the sister of the chief. Just like your North Star Island sailors look for the Southern Cross. I have to say, my musical project, named after the namesake of the parent channel of Video Games 101, Let's Play with Brigands. Brigands is the title of that project, named one of our records after this game, or inspired by the Southern Cross, which was mentioned in this game. But I digress. Hopefully we won't be seeing too much of the shaman there, as we see her when we die, when we run out of lives and have to continue, essentially. So, yeah, hopefully not. But let's take a look now at the controls here in StarTropics. A couple specialized commands when we have different things, like when you have the submarine a little bit later. Sorry, spoiler, we're going to have a submarine. But, you know, attack with B, jump with A, switch your weapon with select when you have a secondary weapon. The one thing it's going to take some time getting used to in StarTropics, the only thing I don't like about this game is that the controls are a little bit, not sure, a little clunky when it comes to moving around, navigating, specifically turning in these dungeon levels, because you can only move kind of one square at a time, so you can't turn until you've gotten to that next square, essentially. And there's also a slight delay when you're moving around on top of that, so that's the only gripe I have about this game. But otherwise, fantastic, great soundtrack. And yeah, just the controls a little bit in that sense. It takes some getting used to, so just something to keep in mind. But one of the main mechanics of StarTropics, you can see when you jump, you can only jump as much as 2 squares at a time, unless we have a special item, which Blaze will talk about a little bit later. But much of the mechanic is about finding hidden switches on these blocks, sometimes creating one or making one appear, and then jumping on it to open a chest, open a door, open a wall to create a door. So we'll show you where all those are. We'll always show you where the items are, if there's items to be had moving, you know, away from the main objective, essentially. If there's a little diversion we can take to grab some extra items, we will always show you where those are. Give you the best chance of winning here in the StarTropics walkthrough. Mind these snakes, they charge at you, but a couple shots from your yo-yo should take them down. Turbo's not a bad idea when it comes to your attack button. If you've got a controller which lends itself to that, it can help you get some extra hits in. The main direction to go is up there, but in the spirit of showing you everything, we're going to go to the right here. And we get this lovely music that you get when you find a generally hidden item, or hidden area, which generally has restorative items. And we just got a couple different items, which are new to our inventory. So there's actually another barrier we can break going up north, but that is a dead end. If you go up north one more time, you'll just fall into the water and lose a life. So that's why we are not revealing that switch right there. But we'll bring in Blaze to talk about the secondary weapons you can find and the restorative item, which we just picked up. That's what that was, the medicine. Pretty straightforward, but we'll have him talk about that more specifically and some of the other things we can pick up in just a moment. But we're actually coming up on our first boss here of StarTropics already. So here we go, let's throw it to Gary for our first boss.
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters. Alright, the first boss of StarTropics C-Serpent. Want to toss 2 torches from the center block when the mouth opens, then jump off to the side. That's the safest way to do it. Repeat the process, come back to the middle. When that mouth opens, toss a couple more, jump to safety, keep doing it until he's down. Not too difficult.
Alright, thank you very much, Gary. Oh, Fluff?
I've got a fun fact about this boss, Professor.
Okay.
Get right in front of the serpent and let it hit you with one of its fireballs. If you jump forward while you have your split-second invincibility after being hit, Mike will jump forward and leave the screen, and just like that, you've discovered the pacifist way of dealing with C-Serpent.
Very sneaky, I love it. Thank you very much, Fluff. And we've cleared the first of many dungeons in this game. This is one of the longer titles for the NES. Covers a lot of ground. Just one of the most, I throw that word around a lot, but it really feels right here to say it's one of the most novel, one of the most unique titles for the NES. So we'll talk to this guy, Babu, Dr. J's assistant. 1492 when Columbus sailed the ocean blue. They love their little historical references there. Kind of foreshadowing what we would get afraid of. What? Setting up Zoda's revenge, in which we travel through time. Wish I could tell you more, but I'm afraid of ... Well, whatever. We'll never see Babu again. So we head to the sub, and there's Navcom. We got the 1492. Didn't actually have to input anything here. This one's done for you. Before too long, we'll have to have that code, but here we go off into the second chapter. That first dungeon, if you want to call them that, was just a warm-up, so you could get familiar with the controls. Chapter 2, Dolphins. After a few hours voyage, Subsea is still cruising on the ocean. Some of that music I love here. Quee, 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 quee. Translating, she's a female dolphin, and she lost her son. There we go. Guess we could... Should we add that to the, You know what? We should have already. We're here to rescue our uncle. Just add on a dolphin on top of it. Yeah. Here you go. Rescue the princess trope. By the way, two things about that. One, we had to drop down the font size because we finally reached the point where we've just played too many games with that trope. Just goes to show you why it's a trope. Had to scale that down just to fill them all on. And it also occurred to me, we neglected to add Mega Man 5 to that trope list, and technically that does qualify because I think one of the objectives was to save Dr. Light, and that just goes to show who could even keep track, who's paying attention to those things in a Mega Man game. All we want to know is the boss order. Anyway, getting off topic, you can see that bottle up there. If we cut through the mountains right here, you'll see this a few times. We got that heart Ionus up right there up top. Pretty straightforward. 1776. Again, the year of America's independence. I suppose that sort of works into the exploration theme, but just, you know, Dr. J's a fan of history. I think that's the main takeaway there. So we'll hop back on the sub, put in 1776. And yes, we will get that heart. We can't get it from here, so we'll submerge here. Pop out here, and now we can come up and get our first expansion heart. Blaze?
Alright, a big heart, just like The Legend of Zelda, adds an extra heart to your overall total. Be on the lookout for these. The professor will show you where to find every hidden heart in this game.
Thank you, Blaze. By the way, we just unaccountably jumped up 2 hearts after that first, kind of in between the first and second chapters. I remember looking at that and scratching my head trying to figure, like, did we pick up 2 extra heart containers and I just completely had a blackout moment or something and had no recollection of that? But no, they just spot you 2 extra hearts without any reference to it whatsoever. So there you go. Just wanted to point that out. Anyway, got to get the timing right on these. Your best bet is to just obviously jump as you see it coming back out of the water in that case. Don't linger on it, obviously. If it disappears into the water while you're still standing on it, you will drown. That's an instant death. Very easy way to burn through all of your lives and see the shaman that I'm trying to avoid. We can jump over a lot of enemies when they come barreling at us like that. For what it's worth, same idea with the projectiles. Get that little split second of avoiding the damage, which I do appreciate, and it's just Mike moves awful slow when he's in the air coming down, and it's just something to get used to. These guys' moveset's another thing to get used to, obviously. And while we're battling through this portion, trying not to fall into the drink, let's bring in Blaze for an overview of some of the items we can find while navigating these dungeons. Blaze?
Let's talk about some of the items you will find as you're walking around in the dungeons in StarTropics. First, the medicine. This restores 5 units of health on demand when you use it. Next, the Rod of Sight. We need this to see the ghosts in certain portions of the game in the midway section of this game. The Snowman Doll freezes everybody on the screen, very useful against one boss in particular. The lantern lights up a dark room. Gotta use this on demand from your inventory, just like the Snowman Doll and the Rod of Sight. Next, we have the stopwatch. You'll find these can either freeze or slow down enemies when you pick this up on the screen. The anklet allows you to jump twice the distance to basically hit a block that's a 2 gap between you and that jump, so very useful and necessary for certain stretches in the game. The try your luck sign. If you feel like gambling, pick this up. It's worth either -2, -1, +1, or +2 lives to your life count, so this could be a big swing one way or the other. And lastly, the vitamins. You'll find these very late in the game. This will top off your health and then slowly sap them away until you're back to full health, whatever number of hearts you have. But this will give you 20 total hearts even before you have 20 hearts. But yeah, definitely be on the lookout for this. But there you go, the items you will find as you're walking around through the dungeons of StarTropics.
Thanks, Blaze. And while we're battling through, let's bring in Fluff for another Fluff fact about StarTropics.
StarTropics is a rare instance of a Nintendo game which was developed by Nintendo, but was exclusively made for Western audiences. StarTropics was never released to the Famicom, and as such, only North American and European Nintendo fans ever got to experience it.
That does make it a rarity. Yeah, you don't hear a lot of instances of that. A lot of Japanese-only titles, which never made it over to America. Before we go to the right, which is where we're actually meant to go, we're going to cut to the left here, and I apologize already for that incessant beeping, which signifies that we're low on health. That's probably more annoying than the Zelda sounds when you're low on health, but here's some medicine, so we can knock that out. But yeah, I don't know who gave the green light on that sound of all things. So let's pause, press up, and then use that magic item there to top off our health. Or at least give us enough health to top it off. As Blaze mentioned, I think it's just 5 hearts are being replenished on that, give or take. So we'll get to one of the items which Blaze just mentioned that'll allow us to freeze all the enemies on the screen. We want to save this for the upcoming boss. Gary will talk more about that, but you'll find there's a lot of one-off items in this game, and the same applies to the secondary weapons, which Blaze will talk about a little bit later, but just lots of weapons and items which are exclusive to one chapter, and then you move on to something else. But anyway, Gary, who we got?
Octo the Huge. You want to dodge left and right to just keep avoiding those projectiles. Once he charges at you, use that snowman doll you have in your inventory when he gets close enough to hit with your yo-yo. Once he's there and frozen, just keep smacking him with the yo-yo. When it starts to wear off, use your other doll to keep him frozen. Between the two of those, you should have enough hits in the tank to take him down.
Thanks, Gary. Frozen calamari, anyone? Got someone special right now as our young dolphin friend has been rescued. Yeah, kind of a double rescue the princess trope here between the dolphin and the professor, our uncle, and probably a lot of other people. I guess, is it Dr. Professor? I don't know. Dr. J. It's funny they named him Dr. J, but anyway. Probably more people to save as the game continues, but whatever. We put the list up. And more importantly, we made more room for subsequent Rescue the Princess trope games, so looking forward to filling that one out and then having to change the sizing once again. Anyway, can you translate that for me, Navcom? He's thanking us for saving him. Alright, good. Never forget your kindness, and now that'll help us That's how that works. Mikey doesn't do anything for free. Can't tell me that's the most efficient way to get out of the rocks here. Whatever. It worked. And now we head east into the next chapter. Into a bad storm, I think, on top of that, actually. Yep, storm and calm. Suddenly it gets dark and stormy on the ocean. The sea tosses subsea. And we're dead. No, we're not dead. We're okay. We get to enjoy this nice music here. Just a nice little single piece. You'll never hear it again, but just for this one little scene. Just like a lot of the items, which you'll find literally just once, maybe twice in this game. But anyway, let's see where we washed up. Where are we this time? Hello, sir. You look tired. Here, drink some coconut milk. Nice. A lot less weird than that lighthouse keeper who was like, go see my wife. She gets lonely. What was that about, by the way? We were in the middle of, I think, talking about the Save the Princess trope, but don't get nearly as much of the, hey, my wife's lonely, go, that trope. Very different game. So we got some dodos here. Take 2 shots from the yo-yo. That's right, do a double yo-yo on the dodos. I think we're about to get yet another new weapon here. Here's the bolas. And you know what? While we're working our way through this dungeon here, let's bring in Blaze now to cover the secondary weapons that we can find. These guys are definitely out of, I don't know, Kid Icarus? Maybe some Zelda? I don't know. Anyway, Blaze, weapons, what do you got?
Alright, let's talk about the secondary weapons you will find in the dungeons of StarTropics. Most of these weapons do pretty much the exact same amount of damage. First, we have the torch. It's a medium-range weapon, which is useful for putting a little more distance between yourself and your target. We have the slingshot next. Kind of a very similar thing. It's just, sometimes the difference is just where you find these different weapons. A lot of these can only be found in 1, maybe 2 sections of the game before they swap out to something else. We have the baseball bat, keeping that baseball theme. I guess Mike's, he's a regular Otani. He swings, he pitches. But yeah, it's a short 360-degree swing. Not that useful to baseball bat. Next, we have the bolas. These go across the full length of the screen. You'll find these probably more than any other weapon in the game. But yeah, very useful against certain enemies, certain bosses, which Gary will talk about. Next, we have the baseball. Mike's a pitcher. Gotta have that baseball. Doesn't throw it that fast, but I digress. Goes a very long distance across the screen. Useful against one of the bosses a little bit later. We have the asterisk, a cool weapon, which you throw it, and then you hit it again, and it splits and goes to the left or right of where you've thrown it. Very useful against certain mini-bosses. One boss in particular, again, Gary will talk about that. We have the Miracle Mirror, which is useful for deflecting shots from certain enemies midway through the game. And then we have the cleats, the spikes, which use one of these and it automatically hits every single enemy, which is visible on the screen. So if they're weak enemies, you can just clear out an entire screen with one click of the button. But there you go, the secondary weapons, most of the secondary weapons in StarTropics.
Alright, thanks, Blaze. No boss at the end of that dungeon right there. Have another village here where we need to talk to everybody before they'll give us access. So let's just go through that. There's a lot of backtracking involved too, once we come all the way around. I'm a brave sailor too. Can I come with you? Oh, you almost died at sea? Never mind, I'm gonna stay here. Smart man. Alright, so we gotta wake up Bernadette here. She's in sort of a coma. at the moment. I did meet Miss Coral. I gotta go with Mira, because she's right in front of us, right? There you go. Alright. Maybe we'll rescue Dr. J, but pick up a girlfriend while we're here in the islands as well. Who doesn't want an ace pitcher? I don't know. That's all I'm saying. Who doesn't want an ace pitcher? Thank you for the coconut milk. The concept of coconut milk always seemed really delicious to me when I was a kid, and you know, you would drink that to top off your health. And I've since had coconut milk, and it's not really delicious, but nor does it restore all of your health just like that. See again. Who are you? Go away. You gotta talk to that one last guy for some reason. Don't really know how. It's like, it makes no sense to me that you gotta talk to one more random guy, and then all of a sudden this guy just clicks. Oh, right, you're Mike. Okay. These guys don't communicate or anything. Shecola Castle. Wonder what that's about. Yeah, they definitely have a running theme with the whole cola thing. Mike hailing from Miracola, which is pretty good. I'm not even sure if we need to talk to this guy in particular who won't even acknowledge us, but that should be the last of everybody who we need to contact before we can actually cut through and talk to the chief of this village. So let's cut through that guy's hut and try our luck again. Maybe something will just miraculously click. How about that? You gotta get to know our people and what we're going through here. I'm just hanging out. He's the chief. Alright, at least you're honest. Alright, the chief of Miracola. 1 year ago, many shooting stars appeared. Dreaded lightning, and ever since his daughter has fallen into deep sleep which she cannot awaken from. Now, before we can leave, we need to go see his daughter, who is in that back area. You can only see it when you cut through. I think if we come up here and talk to this guy, he'll say, no, you gotta go see Bernadette first. Was it Bernadette? What's her name? Bananette. No D whatsoever. I'm not really sure the point of going to see someone who's in a coma or under a spell or whatever. She's unconscious. Again, I'm a high school pitcher. I'm not sure what sort of... Just kind of hug the bottom or the top of this hut here until you find the entrance. Oh, you're Mike. Not sure how I knew that, but there you go. She's been sick for so long, and then we just get the... Yeah, there you go. Alright. So now, the guy will let us leave the village and go to the volcano. Always a volcano in these games, right? You know? Gotta have one. Gotta have the ocean kind of palace. Not palace. Grandiose term, certainly for this game, but tunnel, dungeon. Thanks, man. Alright, so... Yes, this is... We have an interesting boss at the end of this particular dungeon here. Before we get there, we need to get actually into the volcano. So you can do the little hop here to avoid damage. And if you want, you can take out each of these snakes, these cobras. Yeah, I guess we don't get anything for that, but if you want to stock up on those stars... Speaking of the stars, let's get an overview of some of just the things we're picking up from the enemies and in these dungeons from Blaze.
Alright, as you're going through the dungeons and killing enemies, you'll find 2 small pickup items. First, the small heart, which replenishes 1 unit of health, 1 heart of yours. And then you have the star, which it's kind of like, what's the purpose? The star is you pick up 5 of these and you get 1 heart back. So if you want to think of it in mathematical terms, this is worth 20% of one of those small hearts. Again, what is the point of having these in the game? There's a running counter you'll see at the bottom of the screen, but again, Not really worth your time. Don't go out of your way to grab one of these stars, but there you go. The items you'll find when you're walking around in StarTropics.
Thank you, Blaze. Yeah, tricky without the lights to see where you're going, obviously. If we cut down here, we can grab ourselves a nice little restorative potion. Can come in handy for this sort of double dungeon. But yeah, it's difficult to navigate this screen without the lights. You can use where the snakes go to kind of guide you. You can see how far out they're coming so you can know where you can jump before you hit that light switch there. Got these kind of gnat-like flying creatures. Yeah, once they stop, they're about to charge you. And starting to go around in that annoying diagonal pattern right there. Now, sometimes you need to kill every enemy on the screen to open the door. Sometimes you just gotta hit the pressure switches to get that to appear. Obviously, gotta make sure we jump as soon as that one's coming up so that we can make that jump. And if we go to the left there, we can grab a couple extra hearts. And we descend deeper into the volcano. Things are starting to get hotter. It's getting really hot now, don't worry. The lava no more deadly than water. Just as deadly, actually. There's one of those chance signs that Blaze mentioned earlier, so we have a 50-50 chance of gaining lives here. So it could be -2, -1, or a +1 or a +2. Let's see what we get. There we go. Best possible outcome right there. We'll take that. Difficult to avoid the flames there when they spread out in the way that they do. Hard to jump over them. Just go straight to the left here and grab the stopwatch. Makes dealing with these guys a wee bit easier. If you get to them in time, of course. Don't waste any time here. Just go straight for the sign. Yeah, time that jump so you can avoid taking the damage as they're launching that at you. If you need some hearts, you can go to the left. Right up here. We're going to need to go to the right to advance. This is a dead end up here, but grab those hearts, and then we're going to head back just to make sure we're all topped off. For the upcoming boss here, give ourselves the best chance. Put Gary's strategy into play. And yeah, pretty much as quickly as you can jump through here will help you avoid the enemies. If you jump right at the start, you can make that without having to stop off. And time for the next boss. Throw it to Gary.
Magma the Fierce. We're time those jumps to avoid the shots. And then just basically it's about revealing and activating the switches as we show to knock him and drop him into the lava.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, just trying to avoid those shots. Timing our jumps while still making progress to these switches. But yeah, you can waste a lot of time just trying to take shots at him, going through all your weapons, of which we have plenty at this point, so you certainly think that that's the solution. A grisly death for the Magma King. Not our concern. Let's head on out of this volcano. Alright, just cleared the volcano dungeon here, still in Chapter 3, here in the StarTropics walkthrough. I'm gonna head north into the cemetery now, although we can stop off at Shecola if we want. We're gonna cut through here right quick, grab ourselves our second extra heart that we have found. I think they're done spotting us hearts for no reason, like they did between chapters 1 and 2. But that's alright. We will show you where all of the remaining subsequent hearts are, the big hearts. And it doesn't look like a graveyard from the outside, but once you get inside, you'll see the tombstones up here. Look for the differently colored one that stands out right there in the center. It's time for the next dungeon. As you would expect, perhaps rather predictably, there are some ghosts here. Also some creepy, kind of look like they'd be in Link to the Past. They may have been in Link to the Past, actually. Maybe those guys with the little helmets on, but yeah, skeleton dogs, just big skulls, just cuz. But yes, there are ghosts here in this part of Chapter 3. So we'll be grabbing our first rods of sight so that we can actually spot them. Actually, I think there's some on this screen right here, right now, so if you take a hit, it's safer if you just jump over the water and go that way to avoid most of the damage. Got your classic mummies, just, yeah, a lot of your standard undead fare. Note that these mummies take a lot of hits. You don't want them stacking on top of each other, as it'll be impossible to take them down in time, as they're very slowly, admittedly, coming towards you as we have our first rods of sight there. So let's pull one out right now and use it. Now you can see the ghosts. Can't even do damage to them unless you know where they are, so in some cases it's necessary to kill them all to grab an item or open a door in certain cases, but yeah, for right here, just useful in avoiding some damage. Sometimes, like in the case of this room here, you need to kind of step back and just take a look and see the route which will actually take you to where you want to go. In this case, opening up this side door, or creating a door for us in that case. And there is a ghost going back and forth on this track, so we can reveal them with the rod of sight. And mostly just want to get them out of the way before we head down to the next screen. And you'll notice that that little slug enemy, very sneakily covering up that dark spot there, showing that we can cut through. So rather than taking the stairs, there are kind of false exits to this place, which will lead you back outside and not where you want to be, so just something to keep in mind. There's actually some sneakiness coming up in how to navigate this, and they do tend to hide the proper exit in some cases, like in this area, as you'll see coming up here. This is a very dangerous room, considering they turn off the light and you know that there's a platform that sounds like it's going in and out. The best time to jump when you cannot see is right after you hear that dipping sound. You can hear the sound, it's submerging, and then you make the jump. That's the best way to handle that, essentially. So, just something to keep in mind. And here, just making these jumps. Just follow the pattern right here. There's another cut through. And then it's the top and the bottom one, which are submerging, so just make those quick transitions like I just mentioned. Listen for the sound for a split second, then take that jump. Nice to have the lights back on, though. Just safer to, rather than facing down those giant hands straight up. And they'll do the boss music as if it's boss time. It's not quite boss time yet. Hold up, Gary. Yeah, this place is certainly a maze if you don't know where to go. You can waste a lot of time here, annoyingly. These guys can walk right over these steps where we need to jump. And you can see, even when they're both close to being destroyed, when they're stacking up on top of each other like that, they become very difficult because you're distributing the damage between the two mummies at that point, and yeah, it's not great. Again, generally in this area, when you see no enemies when you come onto a screen, it's a safe assumption that they're hidden. You gotta use the rod of sight to locate them. Unfortunately, we haven't picked up any projectiles as of yet. More rods of sight, though. And actually, I think to progress to the next area, we need to use our Rod of Sight to take out this last ghost. And I guess that one came, but yeah, so yes, you definitely cannot hit them when they're not revealed. But you can certainly top off your rods over there on the right. And no one coming down the lane on this screen, thankfully. There we go. Yeah, otherwise you could definitely be scratching your head wondering how you're meant to progress to the next area. That one's pretty straightforward, obviously. Make sure you jump on that switch to grab yourself the mirrors so that you can deflect the shots from these guys. It's very Zelda. Very Zelda 2, Link's Adventure, actually. Sometimes it's difficult to nail the timing on pulling this mirror shield out. Actually, not a mirror shield, but yeah, that's very Zelda. So yeah, just stagger them all here. They'll tend to want to kind of stack on top of each other. Got to be very careful with that move where you're kind of skating forward, because as I said, Mike has to be on one of the squares on the invisible grid of every screen. So it's yeah, sometimes you can inch forward without meaning to when you're just trying to get your footing, get yourself in place, and then you end up walking right into the enemy as you're trying to close the distance and taking damage that you didn't mean to. So finally, some bolas. These will be very important coming up on the boss, so hang on to these. Don't waste them on any secondary enemies or anything like that. If you need hearts, specifically 4, we got some in this room over here. You gotta use the Rod of Sight to reveal that ghost. Take it out, and there you go. 4 hearts. Not too shabby. I think we're about to upgrade our basic weapon, the yo-yo. And speaking of the yo-yo, I'm told, Fluff, you have a fun fact about the yo-yo as it relates to StarTropics.
Because of the word yo-yo being copyrighted in Canada, the Island Yo-Yo was renamed the Island Star in the Virtual Console release of the game to avoid copyright infringement issues. What a grandiose name for such a weak and relatively crappy weapon.
Thank you very much, Fluff. Yeah, it was more of a weapon when I had a yo-yo as a kid. Always ended up bringing it back in, reeling it back in too hard, and smacking my hand. But I digress. Use your Rod of Sight to reveal the boss, and we'll bring in Gary.
Boss beaters. Alright, Maxie. Gotta use the Rod of Sight to even fight Maxie. At this point, just attack with the bolas, avoid the projectiles and the minis. Not too difficult. You'll take him down.
Thanks, Gary. I have to say there is something very satisfying about making contact with these bolas on Maxie. I don't know what it is, but just... I don't know if it's just the combination of the color and the sound. When he gets fast like that, you only gotta land a couple more. One more should do it. There we go. So yeah, went through about half our bolas. Not aiming especially carefully. So it's not too bad, like Gary said. And no more ghosts. Thankfully. Step on the middle one multiple times. Keep jumping on it until it opens up. There we go. And this should empty the lake that we saw outside of the graveyard as we were coming in. And I'm sure there will be something interesting for us to collect from there. What if there was nothing there? Just defy all video game logic as we know it. There we go. Crystal ball. We didn't even bother going to Shecola first because I knew that we needed this. But once we have this, we can go to Shecola, and that'll help us get inside. Yeah, I caught on that. Thank you. Got the crystal ball. Yep. Just return this over to Shecola. Nothing else going on here. Still not sure how they fit a whole graveyard into one tiny little hut, but again, everything looks a lot smaller on the outside. Except us. The scale of us versus the entirety of Shecola, which is where we are now from the outside. Head around all the way to the back. Don't even bother trying to go in the front because they will say, "You're not a woman. Get out of here. This is Shecola," I'm paraphrasing. But yes, give the crystal ball to the psychic back here. And they will change you into a woman, or at least make you look like a woman. Enough to get into Shecola. You sure look silly dressed up like a girl, they say. Bridge over troubled water. I love all of this. Like, you wouldn't expect a Simon and Garfunkel reference in this game for kids from 1990, but here we are. Love me some Simon and Garfunkel, by the way, but it's getting a little bit off topic. Let's enter Shecola. Hopefully we pass. Must be from Radicola. That's probably the coolest sounding village in this game. I'm a warrior of Shecola. I think their main warrior is around here somewhere, but before they'll acknowledge us the way that we want them to. Training and more training. I'm tired. Yeah, the queen is through that door there. See what this one has to say. Newcomer from Hercola. I like Radicola. I'm gonna stick with that. It's a lot cooler than a Miracola. Or any of the other cola-based towns in this game, villages. Darn right. Or Supergirl. Mikey and Michelle. There you go. Good cover there, Mikey. Alright. So you have to visit a hermit? Okay, we'll miss you. Here we go. Upgrade to the yo-yo, finally. Blaze, what do we got?
Alright, the shooting star is twice as powerful as the yo-yo, and you need 6 hearts in order to use it. But it has a little extra reach than the yo-yo does, much more powerful, so definitely hold on to those hearts so you can use this whenever possible.
Most definitely, yeah, we're not done with the yo-yo because of that. But most of the enemies we'll be fighting later in the game, the yo-yo will be especially useless against, so here's the head warrior. There we go. Abracadabra and jump 10 times. It's very important that you get that because you can go to that next area, but unless you've talked to them first, jumping 10 times will not get it done, so. They don't even know what to say. Alright, so we can change back to Mike. It's interesting that it's showing that we have the shooting star when we're only showing 5 hearts on our counter right there, but anyway. One more dungeon in this area before we can move on to the next chapter. Alright, so they topped off our hearts. And now all of a sudden we can take down these cobras with 1 hit, so even more incentive to hold on to as many hearts as possible so you can keep the shooting star, which makes this game a lot easier. That's why we also want to make sure we grab all the hidden big heart containers that we can possibly get. And get these guys again, gotta be very careful because once they jump over, they do that little stutter for a second and then they just launch, so they can definitely sneak up on you. We've seen these before. These will sink pretty much as soon as you jump on them, so you have to be ready to jump right away. And yeah, he will not go to that closest one, that skull, so wait till you're over on that side, give him a whack and continue on. And to get this, you need to do a leap of faith, actually. Might be wondering how we can get that. Really just have to make that jump and the thing appears. We can grab some bolas, which will help us out moving forward. Once again, we're going to descend. Sure, you think we would be ascending here, but yeah, we're back into the the lava once again. These are the same thing, they're just colored differently, but yeah, they will disappear. Watch out for the, I'm not sure what these guys are meant to be. Trolls? Maybe trolls? Now we're back to slumming it with the regular yo-yo, unfortunately. I recommend going to the left here first, waiting until all of these are relatively dry and stable before you grab that stopwatch to get yourself those hearts. So here you just want to jump back and forth until one of those is available for you to jump on it right there. Grab some medicine for ourselves and top off our health, regain our shooting star, thankfully. And it's not just the extra damage, it's also you get a little extra reach with it on top of that, so nice feature. Again, just jumping back and forth till we can get the timing right to get over to this side to hit this switch here. I was gonna say, there's definitely someone hiding on this screen. I guess troll. Looks like it's wearing like a really low budget bald cap prop. These guys like to charge at you when they get you in their sights. Only have to kill, sometimes you just have to kill the lead one, or, you know, whichever one is actually tied to the door, so that'll save us some time. We're coming out of it again. And this is yet another one of those sneaky exits where it's not especially clear as to how to get out of here. This area in particular, you'll just keep running around in circles. These guys take a few hits, especially from your yo-yo. You don't want to stare those guys down with the yo-yo. Kind of bull zombies, I'm not sure. Some sort of mashup there. Yeah, so to get out of here, we're going to go around kind of clockwise like this, working our way through these different rooms. Up and around. And the way to break the cycle, because if you don't catch on to it, you'll just keep going around and around in circles. It's pretty much the same 9 screens over and over again, so don't waste your time with that. Just take out this guy here, and then you'll notice on the next screen as we go down right here, actually you'll notice nothing, but if you go through to the left in the right spot, where is it? I think it's, well, maybe there's a couple different spots. There we go. Yeah, you can come in from the top or bottom, so you'll see that there's this area over here, but it won't be clear as to how to get here, so you'll just have to figure out for yourself. You have to go through that wall there, but no boss. We're just at the hermit, just like that. Wow, you've done it. Good luck. Just chat with this guy right quick. You are fantastic. The Scroll of Obab. Here we go. Just yeah, quick. Run, hurry. I appreciate that they just essentially warp us there. Albeit dramatically. So we're back at Miracola. I'm gonna read the scroll and wake Bananet. Bebab, Obab, Uma. Bebab, Bobab, Uma, Obab. So many references, but this game is so silly. And there she is. Doesn't she, I think she said she's hungry? Yep, is dessert ready? Put down that banana cream pie. This game and their bananas. Yeah, we're gonna go save. Go save the doctor. Oh, right. Alright, so they got Navcom all fixed up. And there we go. Moving on to Chapter 4, which is a very quick one relative to that last one in particular. Some of these are quite a bit longer than others. Chapter 4, Confession. Subsea is cruising on the ocean. A small island appears on the horizon. Pop in this hut here, see if we can find out. Note the shape of the island class. You know, it's a relatively small fishing village here. My name is Bait. I met a guy sailing all the way from Sea Island to find a boy like you. Still rowing his raft, you say? Tuna Cola. Ugh. Remember Coke's failed experiment. Sushi Cola. There you go. I get a lot of mileage out of that cola pun. Like your daddy. All right, good for you kids. Good to have goals. Your daddy's a fisherman. It's the big one, as big as a whale. All right. So it doesn't seem like we did a whole lot while we were in this little village, but oh well. Like it's the eye of the whale, kind of. But let's hop back on our sub and just kind of hang right behind the island here. And eventually, oh god. Perils of Rosella. Alright, so the fastest way to get through the whale here, to get to where we want to go, first we gotta talk to this guy. Speaking of the guy who was on the raft. Oh, it's Babu. Remember when I said we'd never see him again? Completely misspoke. Well, good for you, Babu. Didn't know you had it in you. Make him sneeze, build a fire. Yeah, Dr. J gave him a lighter, but he lost it. So let's see if we can't find that lighter. So, the most direct and only route to get to that lighter is this way. While we're working our way to get to that lighter, let's bring in Fluff for another Fluff fact about StarTropics.
I mentioned earlier that StarTropics is one of the rare Nintendo-made games which was exclusively made for Western audiences. It's also a rarity in that it's one of the few Nintendo-made series which has been virtually dead since StarTropics' one and only sequel, Zoda's Revenge, came out in 1994. Poor sales of said sequel could be a major attributing factor as to why the series has been inactive ever since, but the fact that it was one of the last games released for the NES, late in the cycle when virtually every developer and gamer had turned their attention to the SNES, not to mention the fact that they changed up the formula of the original game so much in the sequel, well, that likely didn't help either.
Yeah, probably a lot of things you could point to. Thank you very much, Fluff. Unfortunate, but that's the way it was. Get out of the water here, or the belly juice. The digestive juices of this whale. A little column A, a little column B. But here's the lighter. Thankfully, the way back is a lot faster than the route that we took to get here. There's just one little submerging pool which will take us back to the entrance and back to Babu. Ah, Babu. There you go. Can't not think of that Seinfeld character. Alright, submerge here. And we'll just pop back up here. So just come down. There he is. Let's build a fire with your raft. Getting smoky here. Maybe we should pop in the submarine? Subsea? No? Not worried about it? In King's Quest IV, we just kind of tickled the throat of the whale. Made it sneeze us up, but this works too. Never smoke again. Dr. J, evil aliens from a distant planet tell Mike to dip my letter in water. Alright, so this is the infamous StarTropics Frequency question. And the StarTropics Frequency to input is 747. Now, with information on how you would know what that is, here's Fluff.
StarTropics was packaged with a letter which, before the days of the internet, was necessary to complete the game. At one point, the game somewhat cryptically prompted the player to dip the letter in water to reveal a hidden code which was necessary to progress the game to the next area. I say cryptically because that players were meant to do this with the physical letter wasn't made abundantly clear, leading to a lot of confusion. In some cases, players who had rented the game didn't even have access to the letter. In response to a lot of questions from gamers, Nintendo Power published the code to help clear up a lot of the confusion in their Counselor's Corner section. In subsequent digital releases, like in the Wii's Virtual Console, an animation of the letter being dipped in the water and revealing the code was added to the digital manual. Talk about the ultimate form of copy protection back in the day.
Yeah, thanks, Fluff. And it's stopping here to... We're going to grab Say Yes, and he's going to give you a worm, which we'll use in just a moment. But yeah, that's the thing that gets me is, a lot of people in the 80s and 90s, a lot of kids, that was their only way to experience these games was through rentals. And the instruction manual wasn't always in good shape, wasn't always intact, wasn't always included, so... Guess bless Nintendo Power for having that Counselor's Corner and just word of mouth, I suppose if the last kid was nice when it came to a rental and, in the notes section maybe, or maybe they just scribbled it on the cartridge itself. Frequency 747 to the next kid, We had to look out for each other in the 90s. But anyway, let's make port here. And talk to people to, once again, Bellcola. So this one is actually because of Captain Bell, his namesake. So someone will mention the parrot. Oh, Miso Bell, my little Beatles Michelle reference right there. I'm very impressed by all of the, maybe it's because this is, second oldest in the island, 128 years old. Good for you. Don't look a day over 127. Captain Bell, there you go. But yes, it's, once you talk to everybody, you can access the HUD up here. But maybe the fact that this was made exclusively for English-speaking audiences, for a change, for the most part, when you're talking about parts of Europe, obviously, but also, most of North America, that they could work in more of these Western references and things like that they've done so far. Simon and Garfunkel, the Beatles, things like that. Not saying they haven't heard of these things in Japan, but I feel like you're more apt to get these references in a game like this when, the target audience is Americans and what have you. But anyway, glad we got that worm to bring to Captain Bell's parrot. Hi, Peter. Just goes to show how long parrots live. Peter outliving Captain Bell, who lived over 100 years ago. I think on the extreme end of a parrot's lifespan, maybe in the right conditions, they can reach about 100, so. But anyway, off topic here. So we have the notes that we need now, but we have a much better way of putting this to you so that you can play the musical combination which you need to access the next area. I like this puzzle a lot, actually. I think it's pretty clever for an NES game here. So to get there, we're going to need to cut through the mountains here, another hidden pass, which you won't see until you actually cut through here. And actually, it's even sneakier as you need to go left there instead of going up as you would probably expect. Now you want to check everything, but alright. So this is Captain Bell's memorial here. Alright, so the combination is, from the left, you go 1, 3, 5, 4, 1, 3. And And those 6 notes, play them in the right order. The flames will disappear right there as if we just took down Ganon or something. Can't not think that, or that we can stab through those with our special sword. As Link, obviously. Cut through here, make sure you stop off these stairs to grab yourself. Doesn't look like anything, but cut through here, there's your heart. Always look for that differently colored anything in this game. That's usually the tell. There we go, up to 9 hearts now. Should make holding on to our shooting star a little bit easier as we enter this next area. And just head south and up into this cave right here to access the next area. So here we are now beneath Captain Bell's memorial in this dungeon here to get the ship out of the way so we can continue on in this StarTropics walkthrough. Right here in Video Games 101, note that there's a couple double hearts over there on the right from the start. Always be on the lookout for those little cut-throughs. Just take out the pink bats here to open up the door. Be quite quick here. The floor is going to start giving way behind us. Just skip over the middle right here. Don't go up and hit every single one of those to shave some more time off. Hit that switch right up there. If you need the hearts, you should have time to grab those, but move quickly through here. We have a number of Indiana Jones inspired traps in this particular dungeon. Constant spikes coming out. We have the giant, well, a mini one right now. As soon as you hit this, it's going to start it moving back and forth, left and right, so just make sure you make that jump when it comes through. We have 3 options here. Go through the top door, and there's going to be a hidden pit that we need to drop through, and then very quickly, we want to move to the bottom right staircase. Of course, you got these stakes coming out of the ground, so just move accordingly to avoid them. And be very careful where you walk here. There's more pits which will drop you right back where you were, so cut through here to avoid those. And then cut through right here. If you take any of the other stairs, you'll be kind of blocked off in a pit-only area where, yeah, you'll just drop back to where you just were. So that's the only way to get through here. It's a sneaky area to navigate. Could have gone through the left door and been there, obviously, but in the interest of getting through here as quickly as possible. That said, they give you plenty of time. It starts out with this spiral shape right here before it gets over to the right, and then up top, and then it's going to start going away from the middle, so we got to hit, I think it's this bottom left pressure plate right there to reveal the other pressure plate. And here we get into the more Indiana Jones style. This one is more of a giant bowling ball, but still, same concept. So you can actually hit this with your weapon to make it stop for a second to give yourself some time to react in case it's bearing down on you. That's an instant death if that touches you, by the way, so you need to be very careful, obviously. And more of these guys where we need to pull out our reflective mirror. It's all about the timing once again. It can be a little tricky. Plus you need to be close enough to get that reflection off before they disappear again, so kind of a narrow window. Got a rod of sight to pick up on this screen here, so we actually want to go down to progress the game, but if you need some hearts at this point, we can actually stop up here. Open this door here. As soon as you go through, be ready to jump forward because this is going to give out beneath you. Do not give you a lot of time to react to that, so you really just have to know when you come into here to know that you need to jump, but just be quick, be decisive in your movements here, and you can get a couple of these pairs of hearts to appear. Now we're in better shape to continue on down to the bottom. Sometimes you just gotta eat the damage right there unless you space those out and have time to react to make those jumps there, but we'll take that. Maybe pick up another heart from some, one of these cobras? Anything? Ofer. Oh well. dodos. One shot with the shooting star. I keep wanting to call it Morning Star, but there you go. Yeah, same idea. We can stop it if we need to. It's a lot easier if you have the shooting star to give you that extra length to it. You're definitely rolling the dice when you're just using your yo-yo to stop the bowling ball. Which doesn't always necessarily move in the same pattern. Sometimes it starts a little short, some of the bowling balls. Really safer to just move straight ahead here, rather than trying to defend yourself from those bats. And certainly a lot easier, this screen, if you have the shooting star. So there's actually a ghost hidden in the bottom left. We gotta use our rod of sight to reveal, and kill to move on to the left, actually, but we're gonna head to the right real quick to grab ourselves some medicine. And actually the medicine is on the lower screen, so we have a ghost here that we need to kill before we can move down and pick that up. Sneaky. That's why they give it to you. There's a baseball bat here for what it's worth. Don't jump on those spikes, by the way. That's instant death if you do that, so. As you'd imagine, Mega Man style. And can't quite bowl through that one with Turbo, so. Once they start stacking up on top of each other, and you're splitting the damage. See, now we'll use it here and take out this ghost, and head to the left. Note that we're going to have more stakes coming out of the ground for us in this room, so we need to step on these middle tiles to get the pressure plate there. Yeah, I could have done that better, but that's fine. Alright, we are down our shooting star at the moment. Got it back. And yeah, just the main thing is, if you got to take some damage, that's fine. Just make sure you get the timing on that jump right to avoid drowning. And yeah, this is rough without the, right there. You can see these things are, have a mind of their own, these giant bowling balls. You can see we could stop it right there, but yeah, just quickly get down there when you need to give it a whack to stop it in its tracks. Do so. It's just following us around here. Top off here. Mirrors at 99. They're very generous with the mirrors. I think we can outrun that Indiana Jones style. Another dungeon here where we do not have a boss we need to worry about. The rest of it was difficult enough, I suppose. And we have one more instance where we need to cut through the wall. You can see the dark spot down there on the bottom right. Cut through here, come back out the other side, and just jump on the switch. And this will move the, a few times actually. Now we'll get the ship to move out of the way so we can pass through in our sub. You'd think we could just submerge, but it doesn't have one of those deep pockets, unfortunately. There we go. After we enjoy some nice music. They're always shocked. Which is fair. I mean, we're a high school baseball pitcher. And we're holding our own against hordes and hordes of different types of beasts. Creatures of all types. here we are now in Chapter 6, The Reunion. Subsea is searching for the Dr. Jones location. Will Navcom catch his signal in time? Alright, so there's a lot of different islands here in these chains. First thing to do is go down here and cut through. See that little bit of a current coming through there, as they've had earlier, to tip you off. This is the village where all of the oldest folks in the world live, 199 years. I guess that's her secret, finding the big heart. She probably did that Fluff trick that we covered earlier. Just keep stocking up on that heart with that hack early on in the game, which we did not do. Third oldest at 177. Wait, the second oldest was 128. That doesn't add up. I guess they don't communicate between these different villages. And I think if we talk to this one, 188, yeah, we've already met the second oldest. You must have bananas in your ears. The ultimate insult here in StarTropics. Well, anyway, yeah, we should go back to Miracola, or whatever town that was, and tell that woman that she's full of it. Always nice to tell a 128-year-old lady that she's full of crap. But anyway, every time you hop on the sub around here, he'll give you coordinates. He'll say 49 north, 28 east. That means literally 49 spaces up and 28 to the right. But we can't go straight there because of the shallows and other obstacles. So, plus we have other things we want to find, such as one of those hearts, which I think the oldest woman tipped us off to. So to grab that, we're gonna submerge right here. And we have 3 other possibilities here. To get that heart, we're gonna hit this bottom one down here. Love just a staircase going down in the middle of a field of grass. Oh wait, this isn't a heart, it's just a random apple. Which literally has no purpose, I suppose, but to confuse you and make you wonder, what's the deal with the apple? Why didn't it at least give us our health back? Don't worry, there is still a proper heart piece waiting for us nearby. We're going to head through the right now. And then if we go down here, perhaps this staircase, which is just sitting here in the middle of a field. There we go. Alright. Looking good, up to 11 hearts at this point. So much so that they had to add that second row. We're getting warmer-ish. So we're going to head to the right. And we have another tiny little, probably just a hut this time, a one-off hut. Who is this? Rob Caruso Cola? A lot of just interesting references thrown into this game. The developers, yeah, it's quirky. It's fun. We only need to go up 4 and then right 29 to get to Dr. J, but we cannot get there from this area. We need to punch through down this way. Number of areas where you could submerge. Take the second from the left to get to the next area. And then the bottom of the 2 here. And then this one right here. And this will take us quite a ways up. Only way to reach this particular area. Just a little maze work in the sub to change things up. Here we go. And once we start getting really close, he's gonna somewhat annoyingly continue to go off and let us know that he's very close. Cut through here. 5 to the north. 3. 2 and 1. 1, 2, and... Yes, I get it. Signal stopped. Submerge at this point, and this will take you to a sweet underwater cavern here that we're going through. And I'm not sure how we disembark while we're underwater here, but nonetheless, here we are as it gets darker and darker. Interesting. Right now in the underwater temple here, getting very close to Dr. J. But not before we have another dungeon, of course. And we finally have the double jump, or at least the ability which allows us to clear 2 spaces. This is not a permanent thing, I say. We finally have. We had it for 1 screen. Just take out this mummy and then give yourself some room. The red ones have a bit more HP in the tank, so be careful. Even though they move very slowly, when there's a lot of them and you don't have a lot of room to maneuver, with the water being there, it can get a little bit tricky. We actually have a number of bosses coming up in short succession coming up here. Not quite a boss rush because they are spread out just enough, and they're all new bosses as well, but we're calling in Gary quite a bit here. Shortly, use this the anklet here to give ourselves. Note that you can't make that jump there. Can't cover 3 spaces, but you can certainly still do 2. There we go. Just have to take out the enemies there. And here we need to time this up to get into this mummy conga line. And just take out as many as you can before you need to move on. You can see the the distance closing here. I don't think we could have stared all of them down. Grab ourselves a couple hearts if you need them. And this little guy is a tiny little preview of what's to come. Gary?
Alright, the giant Turboss. Transition between the blocks near the front of the boss to dodge projectiles. It's kind of like the Octo The Huge that we fought earlier, but when the boss charges at you, get in as many hits as possible. Not too difficult, and just repeat this process, you'll take him down.
Thanks, Gary, particularly if you are not using the yo-yo at this point. Hopefully you're not. Should be pretty decent off in hearts, as the first stretch of this area wasn't too difficult. And that might do it, yeah, just 2 quick sequences of getting a lot of hits in. And just continue, cut right through here. That was just the midway boss for this section, actually. Still have 1 more before we even leave this area, as we get closer to finding our uncle, Dr. J. It's the obvious cut through right here, the shadow on the left. And once again you can see, oh, well, there wasn't a shadow on this side of the wall, but they let you see as you cut through. And now we have this, so we can actually jump down from the top, knowing that that's a 2-gap space. And actually, I should have come in here first to open up that bottom area, but so now we'll grab this once again. And if you want to turn on the lights to open up these chests, this will create so we can bridge that gap. Now there's some hearts if you need them. And then a baseball, I believe, in this chest right here, our first baseball. Maybe the only baseball. Again, I guess they figured they could only put in our first instance of this as well, and this is a great time to use it. Pretty awesome, the cleats. Didn't know that that's how cleats operated. Effective nonetheless on weak enemies. Another item, which is cool in theory, but we will not be getting a lot of use out of. Makes you wonder why they put so many into the game when, yeah, a lot of these items really just appear in 1 or 2 chapters at most. Guess we had the bolas maybe in 2 chapters, but that was about it. Or maybe it was just because chapter 3 went so long, I don't know. Hold on to those baseballs, by the way, we'll need those for the next boss. Go to the top to get our anklet to cover this ground here. There's actually 2 hearts at the bottom if you want to grab those before you head through that door at the top. Hopefully we won't take any extra damage en route to picking them up. There we go. And if you don't have the shooting star on this screen, you might want to spam those cleats. Because, yeah, avoiding these mummies, it's more difficult when you are moving at a snail's pace with the jump animation. Very slow. I like the novel concept, though, of the different tiles and everything in this game. Nothing else like it on the NES. And have one of the classic StarTropics bosses here. Gary?
Hey, Broken Joe. Just keep on jumping until those snakes stop coming. Then toss 3 baseballs in the mouth. Repeat this process. Don't get too greedy. Stick to 3 baseballs. Keep jumping until you don't see any more snakes. And then retreat to the bottom if Joe gets a little too close to you, because note that if he touches you, it's an instant death.
Definitely keep your distance. This one becomes extremely difficult if you don't have baseballs or the shooting star. But yeah, the baseball should be enough to take him down. Exit here to get back into the ruins. And we have another heart piece which we're going to pick up here in just a second. So normally to continue on we'd go north here, but we're going to cut to the right to add 1 more heart to our total, bringing it up to 12 at this stage in the game. Late stage in the game. Coming up on the final stretch, but yeah, it's a kind of a mini maze right here, but we want to go to this staircase to find a heart. You got a big heart. Thanks, game. And now while we work our way back, let's bring in Fluff for another Fluff fact about StarTropics.
There's a hack involving the heart you just picked up, Professor. To exploit it, after you pick up the heart, go to the next area and lose all your lives. Upon continuing, return to the heart, and miraculously you'll find that it's reappeared. You can add to your heart total this way as many times as you want, losing all your lives, continuing, and returning until you have max hearts.
Good call, Fluff. Thank you very much. We will not be relying on that, trying to keep our no-death run intact. Also, that is a fun hack, but I'd like to point out we're about to have max hearts in probably about 20 minutes if you can hold out, so we're getting pretty close to the end here, so they'll top us off, but anyway. It looks like a meteor that fell down here, with 3 holes missing and something we cannot decipher yet. Maybe Dr. J can help. Hopefully he's both still alive and around here in that order. Actually, the order doesn't really matter, but cut through to the right at the start to open this door. This is actually the way we're going. The other way is a dead end. If you need any hearts at this point, grab them there. You probably shouldn't, considering you just got that big heart, but mind the giant knives coming out of the ground. Just as painful as the giant stakes, for what it's worth. This is a fun weapon, which Blaze talked about a long time ago, where we can fire it with B and then hit it again to split it. We want to hold on to a number of these when possible, because we'll use them on the next upcoming boss, but yeah, to Fluff's point, I have to say I once the Super Nintendo came out, my attention pretty much fully turned to that. So, yeah, after 1992 or whenever we got our Super Nintendo, wasn't really paying attention to a lot of NES games at that point, so that's why I didn't play Zoda's Revenge until much later in life, actually. I think when I was in my 20s at that point, so. These cloud-like enemies are like the bubbles, the skull-like, fiery type dealies in the Legend of Zelda series, which, if they hit you, you lose the ability to use your weapon, your yo-yo. Link, it was his sword. For us, it's our yo-yo. For about 5 seconds or so just keep that in mind. You hug the wall here, cut through. You cannot make that jump on that left side. And then there is a pit right there. Let's see, we have some treasures we can hit the pressure switches for to unlock these chests here. Grab ourselves some medicine and more of these splitting weapons. Again, these will be very useful coming up. We don't need that many for the boss, but it's good to have some. Don't use these unless you absolutely need to, or they're very effective against certain enemies, like these guys. Kind of a mini-boss, so Gary?
With the Hoodoo Dolls, you want to keep distance, and then toss the asterisks at them and just activate them to break them apart as necessary to hit this mini-boss. Not too difficult when you make use of that secondary weapon.
Yeah, we'll face 2 of them a little bit later. We have another chance sign, -1. Alright, we're still +1, I think, overall. Maybe I picked up a 3rd sign at some point, I don't remember, but for this entire StarTropics walkthrough, I feel like we're +1, so we'll take that. Actually, no, we're not, because I'm looking at our lives, and I remember we were at 5 lives at one point. We haven't died at all yet, so yeah, I guess we are -1 overall. Gotten a +2, a -2, and that -1 just now. Yeah, love the asterisk weapon right here that we're using. Probably my favorite secondary weapon in the game. Very useful against these guys, by the way. These guys are very annoying. You can only attack them once they pop out, so just time your asterisk throw until they fully form themselves. Useful against these guys too, actually. Little annoying gnats or some kind of bug-like enemies. Still got the full health, feeling good about that. And we got 2 of these guys at a time to contend with. Again, asterisk is the way to go. They can still be tricky though. Just prioritize getting out of the way, obviously, and know that they got that little dirt that they throw your way. More knives coming out of the ground. Very pleasing sound associated with those guys. We're actually going to be pretty well off on these asterisks as we move forward, so if you do want to dip into them for different enemies. Actually, we can pick up some more if we cut through here. Grab another 20 right there. Bad combination here. Guys that take lots of hits, plus these wishy-like guys that disable our weapon for a short period of time. Certainly pulled from The Legend of Zelda. Here we're cutting through the wall once again. And they top you off here because we have another couple of those mini-bosses. We fought one earlier that Gary told us about. We got 89 asterisks, so while we got a glut of these things, you can dip into these if you'd like. Just keep your distance, like Gary mentioned. And while we're battling our way through these guys, let's go back to Fluff for another Fluff fact about how this game was generally received and reviewed when it came out.
In terms of reviews, StarTropics was generally well received upon its initial release, with most reviews finding the game to be admittedly derivative of The Legend of Zelda, but praised the setting, story, and music. A few reviews have understandably criticized certain aspects of the gameplay, which I'll echo at least in terms of that bit of lag when moving about in the dungeons, but still, StarTropics holds an aggregate score of roughly 83% at the time of this class, with IGN ranking it number 35 on their 100 best NES games list.
That's fair, thanks Fluff. I'd probably put it a little higher, meaning better than 35, but that's just me. Certainly a lot of titles which are worthy of being in the top 50 for the NES, so it's just a matter of where do you want to order them all. So we have the victory music right here for just a second before we're thrown back into getting ready for another boss. We can grab a few more asterisks before we take on the boss. You cut through the wall here, and jump right there to get that switch. If you need some hearts, grab those as well. We were getting 20 at a time earlier, now we only got 10 from that particular chest, but this should be enough to take him down. Speaking of taking him down, let's bring in Gary.
Alright, the statues of twin Sumocho. Stay in the middle and toss the asterisks and break them at just the right time to hit both heads simultaneously. You can jump left or right to avoid their shots, but yeah, make sure you wait until you're in the middle to toss those to get the most use out of them and to hit them both.
Thank you, Gary. Definitely the way to do it. You should have a decent backstock by now. If you don't, there is a pressure switch on the far right which will trigger some more to appear once you hit the switch. Keep saying it, there's switches to reveal pressure switches. Let me show you these right here. And then if you do the one on the left, you get 2 hearts actually. So we can go through with full hearts to this point in the game, as we're coming up on the final section and Dr. J just around the corner. Alright, the final stretch of the StarTropics walkthrough here on Video Games 101. I should note that we have 12 hearts at this point. There's no more big hearts to collect, but they will just spot you 2 extra hearts when we head into the final dungeon. And then I think on top of that we'll get topped off at the very end. But so don't worry if you're thinking, hey, how can this be the end and we still only have 12 hearts. That'll be taken care of in just a moment. The only thing we need to do right here is navigate through the ruins here to find Mr. Littman from Seinfeld. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. J. He looks very much like our father. I guess we've never met our uncle here, but there you go. Yeah, what's been going on? So he found the rock, decoded the cipher, and learned about an ancient race called the Argonians. And now we need 3 magical cubes. Story's complicated. You just want me to repeat it word for word. It's too weak. He didn't even have a yo-yo. Poor man. So we need to collect the 3 cubes. That is our final objective here. As we get into some of the final dungeons. Thanks, Dr. J. Unk. The final chapter now, Chapter 7, the alien spaceship. At last you have arrived at the spaceship. Find the 3 magic cubes. All right. So the spaceship is far and away the most difficult part of this game. It's where I'd say the rest of the game is about a 5. This is where it turns up to a 7, maybe even an 8, but just kind of averaging the 5 and the 7. That's how I came up with the 6, which I handicapped this game as overall out of 10 in terms of difficulty at the top. There are a number of different ways to go here in the spaceship. Follow this specific route for the best results in my experience. First thing I'm going to do is grab this capsule right here. You can see they already spotted us 2 extra hearts when we came in here, but this will give us, as Blaze mentioned, what seems like a very long time ago, will give us a sunburn from the looks of it, but more than that, it'll top off our hearts for just the moment. I'm going to pop down here and teleport and go to this top one here. Again, we're doing this to both top out our health early on and grab ourselves some medicine. There's other ways to go, but again, this is the most efficient / the way where you can top off your health immediately and get that medicine to give yourself a fighting chance. Speaking of fighting chance, I think it's best to avoid a lot of the enemies here. It's nice to bait these guys to firing in one direction, and while they're preoccupied with that, just moving very quickly through the gaps. You'll probably take a shot or two. In this case, I'm happy to take a little bit of damage just trying to get through here, as we have a difficult mini-boss battle coming up here in a second. And these guys they'll appear from in front or behind you. Just get the shots off when you can. They'll go down with one hit from your shooting star, but now did not mean to do that. So now we are going to bring in Gary for tips on how to take down this mini-boss right here. Gary?
Like the silver jetpack jumpers, these guys can be annoying. First grab the anklet, then retreat to the bottom row, take out that sentry gun, and then just use your morning star when the boss gets close. If they're farther away, use the laser gun, and just jump in place or left or right to avoid the shots of these bosses. Once you take down one, it becomes a lot easier, but there you go. Not an easy mini-boss, but I think you can do it. I think you can take him down. Good luck.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, that's sneakily one of the most difficult boss battles in this game. And now while we're just going to grab the next cube, to follow along where we go, let's bring in Fluff for one final Fluff fact about StarTropics.
Possibly another reason why the StarTropics series hasn't had any subsequent chapters since 1994 was that it was one of the very few Nintendo games developed by the Nintendo Integrated Research and Development Team. Also known as R&D3, this department was chiefly responsible for developing new hardware for Nintendo, from console tech and peripherals like the Famicom and NES game packs, controller and rumble packs for the N64 and Wii's nunchucks, and even the majority of Nintendo's consoles themselves, like the N64, GameCube, and Wii. They developed a very small handful of games, including the original arcade Punch-Out and its NES port, Super Punch-Out, and of course StarTropics and StarTropics 2. They actually haven't developed any games since 1996's Pilotwings 64, and while Nintendo could obviously assign a new StarTropics game to a different in-house team, I find it interesting that you can basically count on one hand all of the unique titles which StarTropics' specific developer has made over the years.
Thanks, Fluff. Yeah, I think that might be the most interesting thing which I learned over the course of this class about this game, that the developer from Nintendo made relatively so few other games, and that could very well be why they never made any more games in this series, because they weren't really known for the games which they developed. But blast through the wall here to grab some medicine. And we got the most powerful weapon by grabbing that first cube. Blaze, what can you tell us about what we just got?
Alright, the Supernova is 3 times more powerful than the Yo-Yo, so I guess 1.5 times more powerful than the Shooting Star, but you need 11 hearts in order to use this. It goes across the entire screen, maybe the best part about this. So a lot safer to use this to attack enemies from afar. I just wish we got it earlier in the game.
Completely agree. Love the reach, love the damage. Speaking of new weapons, there's a couple here which are unique to the spaceship, which we haven't covered yet, so let's bring in Blaze one last time to do that now.
Alright, 2 secondary weapons which are exclusive to the final areas in StarTropics. The laser gun allows you to blast very far across the screen. That's probably the best thing about it, and you get a lot of these shots too, so you can attack your enemies from a relatively safe distance. And then the super laser, the most powerful weapon in the game, twice as powerful as your Morning Star, that middle tier weapon of yours. Just even more powerful than the Supernova Yo-Yo, or whatever you want to call that. Just that maxed out basic attack. Definitely stock up on these when you can find them. Very useful in the final stretch of this game, as the Professor and Gary will mention, but there you go. The special weapons here near the end of StarTropics.
Alright, thank you very much, Blaze. So, yeah, what we have right here, the Supernova, not the most powerful, but that one gun, if and when we can find it, you can see the top of the wall right there. There's a little crack in it. And there we go, speaking of finding it. We got 20 rounds for this thing. It's, yeah, they're not too generous with the amount, but given how powerful it is, more than makes up for it. Certainly afford to take the damage here before we grab the pill to top ourselves off. And again, it'll stay at our normal max health of, what, 14 hearts, I guess, at this point. We don't even need this, but yeah, once it gets down to 14 hearts, it'll stop taking them away. Not sure we could go back to our high school baseball team while on these pills. They might test for that sort of thing. Suddenly, Mike, you know, he was throwing in the early 80s. He's starting to... he's flirting with 100 miles an hour at 15 years old. What changed, Mike? I've been changing my diet, you know, things like that. We're gonna drug test you, Mike. Son of a... We have a bit more here, which is good, because we have another mini-boss coming up. I think I can guess what the strategy's gonna be. Gary?
Boss, like the gold jetpack jumper. Here I just like to spam the super laser, as you can see, for a very quick victory. It's very effective. No wonder Blaze called it the most powerful weapon in the game. Good luck.
Thanks, Gary. That's an empty room, by the way, if you go up there, so don't do that. Instead, you will want to break through the wall here to grab yourself even more shots of that super laser, which can be useful, actually, on this next boss, which is coming up very shortly. They, quite annoyingly, don't let you keep your secondary weapons. A lot of times your hearts either between the different dungeons, especially here late in this game, so don't be afraid to go ahead and eat into your supply here if you need to. You can see we have those 4 hearts waiting for us, so there's no need to rush anything. Take a little bit of damage, but we'll top ourselves off. Gotta do some careful jumping here to thread the needle. Go up here where we have a slightly larger gap. Very careful jumping right there. Just get in the right rhythm. And note that they will keep reappearing on the far side, so there you go. And Gary?
Ostroid. I like to approach Ostroid, firing my super lasers to quickly force him back. Then we can jump on that switch, which reveals the switch in the back. Jump on that as soon as possible, and then just use your supernova for a nice distance shot. Or if you don't have the health for that, get a little closer and use more super lasers to quickly force Ostroid back and off the edge.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, no reason not to use the super laser if you want to, because we're about to lose it as we leave here. Come on, Nintendo. Oh well. Well, you done it. There you go. And we can see the second cube just above us here. Got another mini maze to navigate. Once again, this is the most direct route right here. Also happens to be the only route. Hit this staircase right here. Just takes you through a little corridor. And we're about to get maximum hearts by virtue of, I guess, getting, I think it's the final cube that does that, but they've kind of run out of gifts they can give us. We got the best yo-yo based weapon. Keep calling it yo-yo based. I don't know how much it has in common with the supernova, but by the way, what a stroke of creativity, deciding that this ace pitcher was going to be dealing with enemies with a yo-yo in this game, but anyway. Yeah, just keep cutting through. Eventually this is going to put us out back on the main floor right here, where we can just pop down and grab the second magic cube. What does this do for us? Anything? Strange power. Okay, so this is where we get the full hearts. Makes you wonder what they'll give us when we grab that final magic cube in just a second, actually. Everything is ready. Now for the last magic cube. Uh-oh. Is this spaceship taking off? Yeah? Alright. Well, don't have to worry about that drug test now. Here we go. Feels very Fester's Quest in a way, that spaceship. It's about to feel very Mega Man with the sound effect which they use. Cool. There it is. Just waiting for the pop to top off and Wily to do his famous eyebrow raise. Alright, Chapter 8, the final battle. The alien spaceship is circling the Earth. Hurry up and find the last magic cube. I may have misspoken saying Chapter 7 was the last chapter, but it all just takes place in the spaceship, so it all tends to run together here in the final stretch. An illusionary image appears before you. You hear an evil voice. The Prime Invader Zoda, there we go. As in the namesake of the second game, Zoda's Revenge. Your head is aching, you jam bananas in your ears, you shout, "Get out of my mind, alien scum." We just happen to have bananas in our pockets. This game's obsessed with bananas, by the way, and cola. They couldn't do us a solid, though. They had to take away all of our health here, which means we'll need one heck of a strategy. Gary, what do you got?
Alright, Zoda, you want to stand on the side and blast away with... If you got a supernova, you can do that. Otherwise, the laser gun works well. You can go to the bottom to just avoid worrying about the hand altogether when he disappears. And then just jump or dodge the projectiles. Keep this up, you'll take down Zoda.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, how do they explain that, though? Like, did we trip? Did we fall down? Did just the movement of the spaceship taking off, was it just so distressing to our body that it took all but 3 of our hearts down? Come on. We just saw him get topped off with the magic cube. Just a pet peeve of mine. Irks me a little bit, class. I apologize. Yeah, that's very kind of illusion of Gaia. Maybe a little bit. Reminds me of the boss you fight kind of early on, I guess in the Incan ruins. Not the first time I think I've referenced that game. It's one of my favorites of all time. There's his true form, and he just kind of scrambles away. Alright, so first order of business, obviously, top off your health here. Thankfully, since we have full hearts now at this stage, we don't have to worry about the PEDs sapping away our health. Which means maybe we could pass a drug test if and when we get back to Earth. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Gotta get off the drug test. So, there are some openings, like right on this platform we're coming up on, where if you get sucked down into it, you'll be in a room with a whole bunch of baddies. You can check it out right here. You can top off your health. If you shoot through the top, there is an opportunity to grab a super laser. Actually, you can stock up on those, and it's not the worst idea. I might end up doing that after all to just have a bit more firepower for the last couple bosses in this game. Got 2 to go. Got 1 before we tango with Zoda in his true form. But having that pill on demand should have you in pretty good shape just to get the lay of the land here if you need to grab it a couple times, if you have a rough run through this particular area. Then you can always run back to that. And actually this next boss area happens to feature some of these. I'm second guessing myself. Let's pop down here. Let's clear out all these enemies first. before we grab that pill, if possible, this is probably going to take us down to our... Yeah, this is not a win situation right here. Need to put some distance. Thankfully, these more yellowish looking soldiers versus the other ones have a more limited reach with their guns. And, okay, that got a little dicey. So we'll cut through the top here and grab ourselves both 3 of these medicines, as you'll see, as well as some super laser shots. So this should help us. Certainly with Zoda. I'll try to hold off on those for the boss before the boss. Just go by what Gary recommends and probably using our supernova as well. But yeah, it's an interesting situation because once you get into that boss room, if things get a little bit too hot, you're about to die, you can always retreat into that hole, grab yourself a health topper once again, and, you know, some more medicine, just repeat the process. So it's also nice to have the medicine in your back pocket for when you need it, obviously. If nothing else, it's nice to be able to get yourself back up to at least 12 hearts so you can use that supernova when possible, as that can very much change your strategy on Zoda in particular. But anyway, alright, Gary, tips on this boss.
With the main engine, you want to stand on that spot right in front of the main engine and blast away with your most powerful attack. The supernova works well. We might want to save those super lasers for the final boss battle, which is about to come up. But you want to destroy those space troopers when they align with you. Don't want them to hit you. And most importantly, don't fall into the hole, otherwise it'll reset all of your progress against the main engine, but only attack, obviously, when the actual, the CPU or whatever the power core is showing. Keep it up, you'll take him down.
Good call, Gary, thank you. Just ignore the regular laser right there, obviously, if you need some hearts, or just feel like getting hit one more time in my case. Just a never-ending waterfall. And finally, the final boss of StarTropics. Gary, take us home.
Alright, the final boss of StarTropics, Zoda's true form. You want to use your super lasers when the boss is just above or below you. As we show, it's kind of that sweet spot where they can't hit you, but you can get a lot of hits in on them. If you have enough of these, you can beat them just like that, but you want to prioritize the spawns when they line up with you on the little islands. I like to stay on the islands personally, so I can move around as necessary, keep the boss lined up with me, or the minions, the spawns. Otherwise, just use your supernova from distance. Heal is necessary, and by all means, above all else, do not let that boss touch you. It is an instant death. Do all of this, and congratulations, you have beaten StarTropics. Congratulations.
And there he goes, vomiting up Zoda juice. Done. Very satisfying win right there, I have to say. And not a bad ending either by NES standards, so let's enjoy it here. We're not quite done. We need to get out of here before the spaceship disintegrates. Forget what the exact description which they give us. Starting to explode. Okay, yeah, that would be bad. Thankfully, it's a relatively slow explosion. You have no time. If we had no time, then we wouldn't still be walking towards the cube. Yes, you have no time. You can't keep saying we have no time. So we grab the final cube. And I guess there's nothing they can really give us at this point. Shout the magic words of I got it. So we have full health, we have the best weapon. Maybe help us put a little bit more on our fastball. The substantial advantage that the rest of the pitchers in the league, certainly the batters, would not have, I would think. I think we're the only high school baseball player that has taken down an alien super being. There we are. Thankfully we can swim. And thankfully... Oh, no we can't. Alright. That didn't last very long. Well, good game, everybody. One of the darker endings. I guess I misspoke when I said it was one of the better endings. Oh, good. Thanks, Dolphin Pal. I guess I owe you one now, don't I? Cut up every ring of Coral Cola that I consume from here on out for the rest of my life. Make sure you don't get trapped. Back on Sea Island. So we'll go back to that original village of Coral Cola. Thank you. Guess everyone knows that it took whatever we did. That's Radicola. Second reference. Creamed Zoda. You show me how to use the yo-yo sometimes? Sorry, kid. Did they already eat that bit? I don't see the pig right now. Who are you? Stay away. I'm just kidding, Mike. I appreciate that. Nice little callback there, a little nod. Spacey Cola. I like it. Change from a Miracola to Spacey Cola. There we go. Everybody gets it. Except for those bananas. That's not a banana. Anyway. Getting a little blue every now and then here on Video Games 101. Alright, Baboo. Think I'm cola'd out. I like it. I get it, Nintendo. Apples, no nutritional value. Soda, on the other hand, tops off our hearts. I see what you're trying to say. Doing some sort of tie-in with the soda companies. Mr. Littman again. Got the 3 magic cubes. There's the chief. Good look. Oh, our fun little robot friend. Circuits indicate success. Love that guy. And the shaman, who we never saw, thankfully. Battled like a hero under the Southern Cross. Again, check out Spinning Beneath the Southern Cross by Brigands. Let's join the 3 magic cubes. Trying really hard not to note the similarities between that and the 3 Triforces. Even oriented in the same way. Pretty cool though, Triforces never did that. There we go. The Argonians. Princess Micah, daughter of the Argonian leader Hirokon. 7 boys and girls are the last beings. That's sad. They were sent to basically save their entire race. And now they're just going to hang out here on Earth. Yeah, I'm Mike. We'll find you a home. Enroll all of you in my high school. Some of them will go out for the team. Or maybe they'll hang out here in the, on Sea Island. There you go. You were so kind. I'm hungry. Is that a banana cream pie? Friggin' bananas. And we're going fishing. There you go. As we zoom out, put a bow on fantastic original title for the NES series, which, once again, in my opinion, didn't get enough love. Certainly didn't get enough games in the series, but there you go. StarTropics, right here on Video Games 101. Hopefully you learned some interesting new things about this title. Big thanks to all my TAs who really showed up for one of the longer titles for the NES, Blaze with all the item guides, Gary, of course, with his boss beaters, and Fluff for even learning me something new with a lot of fun facts about this game today. So big thanks to all of them. Big thanks to you, class, for sticking out for a longer classic game here on Video Games 101. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to enroll in this class. We do one of these classes every single week in the same spot. We'd love to have you enrolled. Click that like button if you don't mind. Really does help us out to make future classes for you. And leave a comment, as always. Did you play this game? How do you think the sequel stacks up to the original here? And yeah, anything else you want to share? We're greatly appreciative, as always. And I always liked the way that they go out on this with these nicer renderings, recounting Mike's adventures here in the islands, taking on C-Serpent, the lighthouse with that guy who was like, go see my wife, she gets lonely. That was weird. There's the mega octopus, whatever his name was, our dolphin pals who ended up saving our lives there at the end, especially. Going to the graveyard, finding the right tombstone. Taking on Maxie with the Rod of Sight. Tried very hard not to make some sort of Maxie pad reference during that. There she was, slumbering. Bananette? Something like that. And we got launched up to see the hermit on top of the volcano. We awakened her with her father there. There's us. No bananas. Haven't seen any bananas yet. Remember when we were in the belly of the whale? So many good memories. There's that cryptic 747. Leading to the fact that you had to put water on the physical letter which came with the game. Very cool in concept, but again, if you did not own the game outright. Us with Pete and the worm, there with the bowling ball barreling down on us like Indiana Jones Jr. Captain Bell's pirate ship. Had to play the right tune to get that out of the way. Loved the Beatles reference. Just before that. There we are submerging. There's Broken Joe. Spitting out the lasers, just sort of their stormtrooper looking guys from the spaceship. I imagine Mike trying to show the other members of his baseball teams like home movies. There's Zoda, and they're like, sure, Mike. Whatever, we got the pictures right here. There we are, plunging out of the ship with the magic of the 3 cubes. And there's the yo-yo, the infamous yo-yo. And there's the friggin' bananas in the ears. I don't know what that's meant to be. I guess it's just meant to be silly. No innuendo or anything strange other than the idea of putting bananas in your ears, but there you go. StarTropics, 1990 from Nintendo, one of my favorites for this system. Thank you so much, class, one last time for attending, and we'll see you next week in the same spot for next week's class right here on Video Games 101. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video, and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.